Hey friends, happy Wednesday. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. My husband and I are headed to our weekly church small group in just a few minutes, but I wanted to hop on and just record some thoughts about some things that really hit home with regard to just some things I've been seeing on social media and then this challenge. So that is the fact that I've seen two opposing thought processes around how we should approach our habit change. And the first is to just go like all out, balls to the walls, don't hold anything back, make it extreme, and there's no way for you to have any wiggle room or give yourself any grace, and that's how you get things accomplished. And then the other is this idea of like how much can we do in order to reach our goals or maintain, but what we would call like a minimum effective dose, which like I said is basically you do what you need to in order to reach your goals or maintain, but other than that you don't need to go any further or any extreme measures. And so I just kind of wanted to give my thoughts on those two things and how they're not necessarily in opposition to one another, even though they sound like they are. So really you can make an argument for anything and make it sound good, and that is something that I see my clients struggle with a lot, is that they start to question themselves if they're listening to too many things and worrying about all the different protocols and trying to do all of them. So really what it boils down to is to stay consistent and stay focused. But I just kind of wanted to explain in these two terms how I look at them and how I approach them and how I would encourage you guys to look at those. So the first is what I would call MED, or minimum effective dose. And so that's really the sweet spot of what we want in order to maintain our, like I said, our status quo, to keep ourselves in this area where we're not overwhelmed and things aren't interfering with our life or causing us unnecessary stress or pressure. So I really do feel like for most of my clients, the ultimate goal, and for myself, is to find this sweet spot where it's like just enough to keep you on your game and just enough to see results, but not so much that it's unsustainable and not so much that it interferes with other aspects of your life, because you just don't want things to be consumed beyond the healthy balance that the Lord intended them for. So if that makes sense, that's MED, minimum effective dose. And then OCZ, what I would say is outside comfort zone. And I feel like it is important to have some aspect of growth that we apply that principle to pretty much at all times. Outside of like a life chaos event, something that just really, where you've got to focus on like, a death in the family or a major overhaul with a move and a job change, and then it's just kind of like you maintain that minimum effective dose across the board so that you don't start, going underneath the water when you're trying to just tread water and stay above it. But this OCZ, this outside comfort zone, is something that we want to be practicing in order to maintain like a level of growth, just so that we're feeding and stoking that fire of what God intends for us to be, constant. Healthy things grow, right? So that's the main point that I think I'm trying to make with that, as I'm rambling about these things, is, to have a streamlined process of doing these things where your healthy habits and your healthy behaviors and just living this as a lifestyle is your MED, your minimum effective dose. But then you want to cycle through in different seasons of your life with this outside comfort zone, this OCZ, in order to continue to make sure that you are growing in different aspects of your person. So all-time spiritual, your relationship with the Lord needs to come first, your commitments to your family, your spouse, your kids, your job, all those things. But to be growing as a person, relationally, spiritually, financially, mentally, emotionally, all these things, that's where this OCZ concept comes into, where you intentionally choose one of these areas to focus on and go deep in that pushes the boundaries of things. So I just kind of wanted to share those thoughts with you and kind of how I see the two. But again, like whenever you're listening to people explain these things, you can really make a case for minimum effective dose. I've seen fantastic coaches do it. Like I said, I believe that is like the baseline. That is the standard for the majority of streamlining this process, is to find your minimum effective dose and don't worry about anything else and adding more stress. But you can also make a case for sounding good to go extreme, but what I don't feel like is that you need to be extreme in all areas all at once. And so wrapping that and tying that into this challenge that I'm doing, I just kind of want to explain again that the things that I'm doing were already kind of my minimum effective dose, but I'm just pushing myself a little bit further in them during a season which I can. I have the ability to do that right now. And again, go back and listen to yesterday's video explaining that, if this were not a good time, I would not have chosen to do it. If it comes to a point where priorities in terms of my walk with the Lord or my commitments to those around me gets compromised, or I feel like this is becoming, something that's taking precedence over my relationship with the Lord, I will absolutely politely bow out. So I do always, try to have that in my mind, but this is my OCZ for right now, and it will not be forever. It would not be sustainable to do this forever, but it is just something that is in this season and is intended to help me understand where my clients are at and get reattached to that, that trying to figure out how to do all these things and not be overwhelmed and not miss them. Just getting back to a place where I'm the newbie again. So again, that's in video 1, day 1, if you want to go back and watch that as to why I'm doing it. But that is pretty much my check-in thoughts for day 3 of 75 hard. And I hope you guys are enjoying it. If you have questions, leave them in the comments. If you have thoughts or anything else, leave them in the comments or shoot me a DM, and I'll do my best to show up here and add value to you guys with some thoughts like this on a daily basis-ish if possible. So enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Bye guys.